Okay. I'm Richard de Freitas, already as already mentioned. I'm a member of the Indonesian Diaspora Network, and I am actually have a background as a social worker, and I have a law degree. And in that case, I am very well interested in all the things that will have help people actually. And in the diaspora, we have had a meeting about this legislation. It was initiated by an Indonesian lawyer called Jasmine. Jasmine, unfortunately, she is not able to be with us because of her work. But we have two lawyers, Mr. Green, Master Green, Groen, and Miss Master Kuliah, who are specialized in this law discipline. The reason that I am trying to explain this is that this is one of the rare Dutch legislations that will benefit Indonesian citizens, because mostly there's no benefit for Indonesians to Dutch legislation, but this will benefit Dutch legislations because based on the European legislation of equal rights, and of course, the Indonesian legislation of the double nationality for newborns. That, for example, I have a daughter who's born in 2016, and she has the Dutch and the Indonesian nationality till she is 21. That means that because she has Dutch nationality as well, that she also has the same rights as a Dutch citizen. That means that she is allowed to grow up in the Netherlands or to study in the Netherlands, to live in the Netherlands, but she is also entitled to receive benefits from the Dutch government, like child benefit. But I will explain that later in my presentation. But that right is also for all Indonesian women who happen to have a child received by a European citizen. And I will handle cases for Dutch citizens, but if there are women who have a child from an Italian or a Belgian or a French citizen, they have the same rights. But we don't know how it in that countries are actually being arranged with the benefits. But Master Kuliah and Master Groen, they will help and they can forward the cases to other European lawyers as well. So for every Indonesian woman who has a child or children from a European citizen, we can help them to claim their rights. And the right, one of the most important rights is that they have a financial benefit till the child is 18 years or 21 years old. But the father has the duty to support the woman and the child, even if they're married or even if they're not married. The child is your obligation. And as I say, if you play, you have to pay. That's the reason. But I will enlighten that in the presentation later.
Apakah saya perlu mengindonesiakan apa yang perlu disampaikan Pak de Freitas? Iya, jadi di undang-undang matrimonial yang baru di Belanda, mungkin nanti Pak Kuliah atau Pak Groen bisa menjelaskan kapan undang-undang ini mulai berlaku. Tapi saya duga tahun 2018, undang-undang ini dibuat berdasarkan prinsip equal rights, persamaan hak yang berlaku di negara-negara Uni Eropa. Jadi di Belanda itu orang bisa menikah untuk hidup bersama, orang bisa menikah dan juga bisa hidup bersama, tetapi hidup bersama itu harus didaftarkan ke negara supaya hak-hak para pihak, yang pria dan yang perempuan, kalau hidup bersama kan bukan suami istri ya, yang pria, pasangan pria dan pasangan perempuan, dan juga anak-anak yang dilahirkan itu ada. Dan dan bisa diklaim, termasuk para lawyer nanti Pak Kroon dan Pak Kuliah itu bisa membantu untuk klaim. So are you going to give another presentation? Continue. Okay. Mr. Kuliah, are you still there?
Of course.
Okay, yeah. And please give a short introduction about yourself. What are you doing in the Netherlands in the connection with this new legislation? And also Mr. Kroon, please.
Okay. Well, my name is Anton Kleiweg. I'm a lawyer specialized in migration law. And I'm doing that already for many years. And I learned that in the Netherlands, we often have nice laws protecting people, but many people do not know to find their way to that legal protection. And what we did is we made a structure that enables people from all over the world to claim their rights if they have any rights towards the Dutch government or towards people living in the Netherlands. That is sounding a bit abstract, but it is best to have a look at the website dila.contact, then it will explain itself. Basically, it is so that if somebody has a problem with the Netherlands or a Dutch citizen or someone living in the Netherlands, they can contact us through DILA, Dutch Intercontinental Legal Aid, therefore dila.contact, and we will review their case and pass it on to the correct lawyer or advise them how to work further. Our wish and desire is to make legal aid available for everybody on the world, especially for those who are not financially well-to-do, because if you're rich, you will not have problems anyway. I'm then a specialized migration lawyer, and Mr. Groen is specialized in family law and international family law. Those are two completely different things. So for many things, I really need Mr. Groen and his support. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Kuliah. Just before Mr. Richard give his presentation, I would like to give information kind of to anticipate his presentation in bahasa Indonesia. Sorry. Jadi dengan peraturan yang baru ini, kalau Anda saat ini atau mendatang mau punya pasangan warga negara Belanda, pasangan hidup warga negara Belanda, baik sebagai istri atau suami, atau pasangan hidup aja, hidup bersama, yang kemudian didaftarkan secara resmi, Anda bisa mengklaim hak-hak, kalau punya anak, hak atas anak, kemudian juga alimony. What is alimony? Tunjangan. Jadi kalau misalkan bercerai, kalau yang perempuan bisa tetap tunjangan dari bekas suami atau bekas pasangan hidupnya itu. Jadi ini kayaknya memang undang-undang yang pro pada perempuan dan anak. So saya persilahkan. Oh, Kroon, are you there?
No.
Oh, I'm sorry. So please introduce yourself.
My name is Roberto Groen. I'm a family lawyer in The Hague, specialized in international family law. I do a lot of cases together with Mr. Kuliah. And what we often do is that I help also Indonesian people with getting a divorce in this country. In this country, a divorce is far more easy than most countries on this planet. because the only ground for a divorce in this country is irretrievable breakdown of the marriage, and you don't have to specify this. If a divorce has been pronounced by a court, then the person who is divorced can easily remarry. What I also do is the legal determination of paternity. For example, a Dutch person goes to Indonesia, conceives a child, goes back and says, I do not want anything to do with the pregnant woman. I can track this person down and on behalf of the woman start proceedings against him in order to have the court determine the paternity, the fatherhood. If this person is Dutch, this Indonesian baby will become a Dutch citizen. Then, of course, I will hand over the case to Mr. Kuliah, and he takes care of the other parts of the immigration issues concerning this baby and his or her mother. This is in short what I do.
Hello. Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Kroon. Now the time for Mr. Richard.
Can you show the presentation? I have this presentation as well as in Indonesian, so the English version. But anything in this, now we have to clear up the Dutch new, the Dutch marriage law, that is actually based on the European Declaration of Human Rights, that every citizen in Europe has the right to live in what in Europe. Next, please. Based on equal rights for all EU citizens, effect of it's also effect of the double nationality in Indonesia till the child is 21 years old. That means that the child conceived by a European citizen born in Indonesia also has the Indonesian and European nationality of the father. When the child is 18 years of age, she will have a reminder from the Indonesian government that she has to make a choice within 3 years, unless the fact that if she will be married with an Indonesian citizen, then she automatically becomes Indonesian and lose the Dutch nationality. And if she will be married with a Dutch citizen, she will become a Dutch citizen as well before the age of 21. That is actually a form of jiwa negara, warga negara. Next. Main thing about this legislation is that the child, so not the most right to grow up with the country of the father. There will be no difficulties for Asian permission to stay and to live in the country because of this rights of this citizen as well. So there's a title to live there. That also goes for the mother because it's based on international legislation. You cannot separate the mother from the child. The child is still 5 years old. It's based on the rights of the nations. So it is a possibility for Indonesian women the child has the nationality as well. government of the Netherlands has arrangement, financial arrangements to contribute to the cost of operating the children. We call it the Kupas, but also the father who pays the alimony and pays the contribution for the children. He has deduction, tax deduction facilities as well, because the government thinks that they help support the upbringing of the child financially. Because every child will invest in the past, when they grow up, they pay taxes. So they see it as an investment. But anyway, there are options and there's for financial benefits for also education. Very important that in Indonesia, it's very expensive to have education. In the Netherlands, it is because of these facilities easy to have good education. Next slide. What is called the General Child Benefit Law, often with the vice law. It is carried out by the Social Insurance Bank, SBB, and the Government Administration, and they also have the Embassy of the Part-Time. Both the services are difficult to get information. What's called the Dutch Embassy of the Part-Time. This is an example of the father as an example, if you see that the benefit for the it's 200 about 4 million when the child's older, it's really 6 months. If the father refuses, then the social security is very important. They can seize them for the salary. So your parents you have course, there's a procedure with later but we can do that in the network, but of course we use evidence that is later evidence. We can do that by the goods. We can see it on the nose. The exception is it's it is not original, but for the church of all that you have a problem. You have if it's for the church of the knowledge to respect I can imagine that but judges were my job here is to set up something. And then they can send it the also very suppose that especially this is normally get this place. So all the cost for the procedure to be for the federal will be paid by the Dutch Ministry of Justice and the Master of Kuliah and the Master of Secretary of Works. And they will take the place as Mr. Kuliah and the redemption earlier. Well, for more information, you can see the website that Mr. Kuliah also mentioned. It is called DINA.contact, what it means Dutch Intercontinental Legal. And they provide all the information about all the kind of legislation that can benefit Indonesian citizens. Thank you. Atau terima kasih atau matur nuwun.
Ya, jadi yang disampaikan oleh Pak Richard tadi itu pertama di Belanda itu untuk hidup bersama itu tidak harus menikah. Menikah itu hanya salah satu cara. Jadi kalau di sini menikah wajib ya. Kalau tidak kumpul kebo kan. Kalau di sana menikah boleh. Ya menikah itu kira-kira ada Tuhan gitu loh. Nah, bersama asal didaftarkan itu akan sangat melindungi hak-hak para pihak, didaftarkan ke pemerintah tentunya. Jadi ada dua cara. Jadi Anda tidak harus menikah kalau di Belanda atau punya pasangan Belanda. Bisa cukup hidup bersama. Tapi didaftarkan. Kalau tidak didaftarkan ya tidak apa-apa, tapi tidak bisa mengklaim hak-haknya nanti. Jadi menikah itu, hidup bersama itu urusan perdata sebetulnya. Tidak ada atas untuk orang Belanda. Dan peraturan itu kemudian dibuat berdasarkan ketentuan tentang equal rights, persamaan kesetaraan hak bagi warga di negara-negara Uni Eropa. Ya, dan nah ini yang menariknya disampaikan oleh Pak Richard tadi, itu kalau hidup bersama atau pernikahan itu masing-masing tetap punya warga negara sendiri, double nationality. Jadi misalkan orang Indonesia, ya karena ini presentasi di Indonesia, Anda hidup bersama dengan warga negara Belanda. Anda warga negara Indonesia hidup bersama atau menikah dengan warga negara Belanda, begitu kan? Nah, anak yang dilahirkan itu a child from the EU, jadi orang Belanda itu EU citizen, itu punya hak untuk hidup dan tumbuh di negara bapaknya. Jadi ini pasti soal kalau bapaknya orang Belanda, gitu kan? Jadi anak Anda punya hak untuk tumbuh dan hidup di negeri bapaknya, di negeri Belanda. Terus hak lainnya adalah di pemerintah itu akan mendukung anak itu dan ada pengurangan pajak untuk bapaknya yang orang warga negara Belanda itu. Kemudian nah kalau anaknya tinggal di Indonesia itu tunjangannya, alimoninya itu akan disampaikan lewat bank Belanda ini, SVB ini, The Social Insurance Bank SVB yang ada di Jakarta juga ada, Jakarta ya, dan itu besarnya 400 euro per anak per kuartal. Silakan dikalikan sendiri. Nah, bagaimana cara mengklaim kalau misalkan ada perceraian dan sebagainya, ya mengklaim hak anak itu, tentu ibu bisa mengklaim hak anak maksudnya, yaitu sertifikat kelahiran, sertifikat perkawinan atau sertifikat hidup bersama tadi, dan juga kemudian tes DNA, itu kalau ada konflik. Dan di Belanda seperti yang tadi disampaikan oleh Mr. Kuliah, untuk bercerai itu mengemukakan alasan, ya saya kira kurang lebih sama dengan di Indonesia, irretrievable breakdown of the marriage, yang kalau diterjemahkan putusnya perkawinan yang tidak bisa dipulihkan lagi. Kalau di hukum perkawinan apa itu, Bu Rika? Alasan apa? Ada semacam itu. Jadi perceraian itu cukup dengan alasan perkawinan tidak rukun lagi, tidak bisa. Yang ayat 3 itu. Perselisihan terus-menerus. Nah, kalau di sini irrevocable breakdown of the marriage. Jadi semacam itu, dan tidak perlu mengemukakan motivasinya. Nah, itu kurang lebih yang tadi disampaikan oleh Pak Richard. So I think now it's time for Mr. Kroon and Mr. Kuliah to give a small, talk, 5 minutes, 10 minutes each. Mr. Kroon, please.
Yes, thank you.
Hello.
First of all, the divorce. What I explained is that
time is yours for 5 or 10 minutes to give your presentation, and then I will translate. Let's not translate it. I will explain it in Bahasa Indonesia after you give your speech.
Okay. Well, thank you. first about the divorce. What I explained is that in this country, it's possible to divorce when the marriage has broken down. And it must be an irretrievable breakdown of the marriage. You don't have to specify this or to motivate this, you just have to state this. And the fact that one of the spouses wants to divorce, the court sees that as already as an irretrievable breakdown of the marriage. So at some point, the divorce will be pronounced by the Dutch court. You can request a divorce as, for instance, an Indonesian citizen living in Indonesia, when your spouse has his official whereabouts in this country. So an Indonesian man or an Indonesian woman can contact me and request for a divorce. And when I can find the other spouse, then I can submit a divorce request. That is totally not a problem. Also, an Indonesian person without a residency permit in this country can request the divorce. That's based on European Union law. When you have your actual whereabouts in this country, so even if you're not a registered citizen and you have lived in this country for at least 1 year, you can request the divorce. This you have to prove. You have to prove that you have lived at least for 1 year. So my advice always to people is to come up with some kind of a doctor appointment. It's very basic, this proof. A doctor appointment, a prescription from a pharmacy, or you want to do some shopping, any proof will do for the court. After some time, then the divorce will be pronounced by the court, and the spouses are free to remarry if they want. After the divorce, there is an obligation to support financially your ex-spouse, and support financially works 2 ways. So sometimes the man must support the woman, and some other times even the woman must support the man financially. So there is equality in this, and it depends, to say in a nutshell, it depends on who makes the most money. It also means that if an Indonesian, for example, woman wants to divorce and she lives in Indonesia, the Dutch person must pay the woman in Indonesia for her support, financial support. And of course, this will be based on Indonesian living standards, but nevertheless, she can request, together with the divorce, that the man must pay her financial support, alimony. This also goes for the children. The person who has the children has the right to receive not only an allowance from SVB, as explained already, but also child support, child alimony from the other spouse. There have been some limitations concerning this alimony. The old law said that you had to pay alimony for, to say in short, for 12 years. And the new law says that you must pay alimony for your ex for a maximum of 5 years, or the half of the duration of the marriage. So when you have been married for 5 years, the alimony right, is for a maximum of 2.5 years. If you have children, then the alimony right for the ex-spouse is due for the age of the children when they reach 12 years. So it's really become a little more difficult for spouses to claim alimony for a long period of time. But nevertheless, there is still a right for alimony. What is also important during the marriage, because when there is a person living in Indonesia and the husband is living in, for instance, the Netherlands, then the husband should support his wife also during the marriage. This is one of the legal obligations in this country, that you should support, help, assist your spouse, no matter where she lives. So if the Indonesian wife, for example, receives no income, then the husband from this country should support her financially, also during the marriage. What is an important difference between the old law and the new law is that 4 years ago, almost 5 years ago, when you got married, according to Dutch law, you got married in a community of property. So before, everything the wife had and everything the husband has falls in a community of property. So it's joint property. This is different from the 1st of January 2018. There is not anymore a standard community of property, but it's from now on, or from that date, it's when you have, for instance, a house in Indonesia and the husband has a house in the Netherlands, it will remain your house and it will remain the house from the husband in the Netherlands. Only when you buy during the marriage certain goods or property together, then it will be a joint property. So what was yours remains yours, according to the new law. What is also very important, and a lot of cases I do together with Mr. Kuliah, is the legal determination of paternity. I mentioned this in short before, but the Indonesian woman can say that a certain person made her pregnant, conceived a child, and if the father if he doesn't want to acknowledge the child, then we can go to court in order to have the paternity determined by the court. Of course, for this you need a DNA test. The court normally orders a DNA test and says that the father needs to comply with this DNA test. What then happens is that the Indonesian woman goes to the embassy, the Dutch embassy in Jakarta. She makes an appointment, and there an Indonesian doctor takes a swab and takes the DNA and sends it to a certified and acknowledged laboratory in the Netherlands appointed by the court. The Dutch person, the Dutch father, does the same thing, and when there is a match, then the paternity, the fatherhood, will be determined by the court. No matter what the man says. Sometimes they say, she tricked me and she did this or that. When there is a child, the child has nothing to choose. The child cannot choose its parents. This is what the court thinks, and this is also logic. So the child will have a legal father. If the legal father is Dutch, then the child will become a Dutch citizen. And then normally Mr. Kuliah sees all kinds of opportunities for this child and the mother so that they can have, how can I say it diplomatically, another life. maybe a better life, and maybe a better life in this country. If the father lives in this country but has a other EU permit or citizenship, then of course Mr. Kleiber sees also opportunities, but then it remains the question if the child gets this other citizenship, because it depends, of course, on the law of this specific country. Maybe a certain country says when there has been a determination of paternity, it doesn't necessarily mean that according to the law of that country, this child gets this citizenship. But from the Dutch point of view, it's 100% that the child gets this Dutch citizenship. It's something different with acknowledgement. A father can acknowledge his child. He can go to a municipality in this country and he can say, this certain child born in this country, I am the father of this child, I want to acknowledge the child. Then the child will also get Dutch citizenship, but only if the child is 7 years or younger than 7 years. If the child is older than 7 years, then you need a DNA test to prove that you are actually the father of this child. So a strange example, when you get a relationship with an Indonesian woman who has already a child, and this child has not been acknowledged in Indonesia, so it's an illegitimate child in Indonesia, then a Dutch person, not the biological father, can acknowledge this child. And if this child is younger than 7, this child will get the citizenship of the Dutch father. And you don't need any proof for this. So this is also an opportunity for people who, of course, must have a good relation before they decide to do so. So this is in short what I do. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Groen. I will like to explain in Bahasa Indonesia to our colleagues here. Ya, saya berusaha semampunya ya. Banyak istilah teknis perkawinan yang saya tidak kuasai. Ini harusnya dosen perkawinan. Saya dosen logika. Ya, jadi kalau perceraian di Belanda itu cukup dengan mengemukakan alasan irrevocable breakdown of the marriage. Jadi putusnya perkawinan yang irrevocable, yang sudah tidak bisa dibalikkan lagi, dikembalikan lagi, dan tidak perlu mengemukakan alasannya kenapa kok milih motivasi kenapa milih alasan itu. Nah, itu cukup demikian. Nah, ini yang menarik untuk perempuan Indonesia khususnya yang punya hubungan dengan pria Belanda. Kalau Anda ke Belanda misalkan untuk alasan apa studi atau apa, tinggal minimum 1 tahun di sana sudah tinggal dan punya hubungan dengan pria Belanda, dan kemudian mau pisah. Nah, Anda bisa mengklaim hak-hak Anda tadi, ya, hak atas alimoni, apa itu alimoni? Tunjangan dan lainnya, dan kalau punya anak, bisa juga tunjangan untuk anak, itu selain juga mengemukakan bukti sudah mendaftarkan hidup bersamanya atau nikahnya, itu juga cukup misalnya dengan pernah ke dokter tanggal berapa, bornya itu lo dibawa. Itu menunjukkan tanggal berapa Anda tinggal di Belanda, atau beli obat di rumah sakit, di farmasi, di apotek, pada tanggal berapa itu ada bonnya kan, nah bonnya itu dibawa, bahwa Anda sudah tinggal sesuai dengan tanggal yang tertulis di bon itu. Jadi minimum 1 tahun maka Anda bisa menuntut klaim-klaim itu ya untuk alimoni, tunjangan diri Anda, tunjangan untuk anak dan sebagainya. Dan ya ini contoh lain lagi, kasus lain lagi, kalau wanitanya tinggal di Indonesia dan bapaknya itu prianya tinggal di Belanda, ya maka yang bapaknya itu harus mensupport si wanita itu, ya mensupport secara keuangan. Kemudian, nah, sebelum tahun 2018 itu kalau orang di Belanda menikah, termasuk orang Indonesia dan orang Belanda menikah, maka hartanya itu adalah harta bersama, kecuali diperjanjikan, ada perjanjian kawin ya, itu hukum Indonesia kan hukum Belanda juga paham ya. Tapi setelah tahun Januari 2018, setelah berlakunya Undang-Undang Perkawinan yang baru ini, kalau menikah atau tinggal bersama itu hartanya harta masing-masing. Ya, jadi kecuali diperjanjikan untuk dijadikan bersama. Jadi tetap harta sendiri-sendiri. Itu bagian dari mendukung kesetaraan individu tadi. Jadi tidak otomatis digabungkan tapi sendiri-sendiri. Ya, mungkin itu dulu yang penting yang bisa disampaikan. Sebenarnya ada pertanyaan menarik ya, bagaimana yang ketika Pak Hrun tadi ceramah, mungkin nanti Anda bisa tanya, itu kalau orang Indonesia punya, wanita Indonesia sudah menikah, lalu jalan-jalan ke Belanda atau studi di Belanda, dan ketemu pria Belanda, dan mau cerai dengan suaminya yang Indonesia, ya mungkin karena tidak cocok, tapi tidak berani cerai, itu apa bisa? Itu kan, mungkin bisa dengan peraturan yang baru ini, saya sudah lihat sepintas. Okay, now the time is for Mr. Kuliah. 5 or 10 minutes for you to give up, to speak about marriage law in Dutch, in the Netherlands. I'm sorry, you still unmute. You should unmute your
Can you hear
microphone.
me?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I would like to ask a little bit more attention for the innovative aspect of DILA, Dutch Intercontinental Legal Aid. The new thing is that legal aid is then available for everybody in an easy manner. If you have a problem, you send your problem through DILA. That can be done by email, it can be done by a letter or by fax or WhatsApp message or whatever you like. If the message is received by DILA, DILA will look at it, how to process your request. That is now also available for people without any money, and that is the innovation. The trick is that you can submit every problem to DILA as long as it falls within the Dutch jurisdiction. So it could be something with a man who left a woman pregnant in Indonesia, but it could also be something with your visa application that has been rejected by the Netherlands. Maybe you need alimentatie for your child. Maybe you have a right for AOA and you won't get paid. Then you need to support in that procedure. Every procedure that has to do with the Netherlands can be looked at and processed through DILA. And DILA will look whether your case can be solved and how, and which lawyer is competent for that. Because you need a specialized lawyer and not just anyone. This is also it's also nice for DILA if we could make contacts with other people and organizations in Indonesia, like schools, women organizations, other organizations for support, social organizations, everybody who has something to do with people who might have a problem with the Netherlands. They're most welcome to contact DILA, to contact us at LinkedIn and help with helping other people. This is possible, most likely, on the basis of subsidized legal aid, at least most cases. And in the cases that it is not possible, we will find a solution. Sometimes you must start a process without knowing the complete outcome. You must begin, otherwise you will never begin. This is also applicable for people who have a problem with another European country, because the principle of subsidized legal aid is a European principle. Of course, I do not know how subsidized legal aid in Italy works, but we can find out. So if somebody has a problem like that, we will find an Italian lawyer that can help you further. That is the key of DILA. Give your problems to DILA. DILA is a tool. DILA will process it and will help you further. And you don't have to be Elon Musk to be able to pay for that. Just send your problem and DILA will look at it. And that's the innovation we want to achieve. Justice for all, available all over the world. Thank you.
Yang disampaikan oleh Pak Mr. Kuliah tadi itu adalah lembaganya DILA.kontak tadi itu. Jadi kalau ada masalah-masalah yang terkait dengan persoalan perkawinan dengan orang Belanda atau orang warga negara Uni Eropa yang lain, itu silahkan menghubungi DILA dan cukup mengisi beberapa formulir dan mereka akan mendampingi orang yang punya masalah dengan perkawinan dengan atau hidup bersama dengan warga negara Belanda itu. Begitu. Saya kira sekarang waktunya tanya jawab. Pertanyaan bisa diajukan ke Pak Richard, ke Mr. Kuhn, ke Mr. Kuliah di Belanda saat ini. Saya buka untuk 3 orang dulu. Bisa bahasa Inggris, bisa bahasa Indonesia, bisa bahasa Belanda. Ada yang mau bertanya, berkomentar? 1, 2, 1 lagi? Ada? Romo. Oke, 3 dulu ya. Yang saya lihat tadi Bu Marcella, lalu Mbak siapa lupa, lalu Romo Surya. Silahkan Bu Marcella.
Okay. Should I stand up or can I sit? Just sit. Okay. Duduk aja ya. It's okay. 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 Before I ask, I don't know whether this is a silly question or no, but I would like to thank Mr. De Freitas, and then it's so difficult, Mr. Kroon and Mr. Kuliah. Okay, that's a little bit difficult for me. My name is Marcella. I am the lecturer of the one of the lecturer in Faculty of Law and Communication, but I teach criminal law. That's why I don't know much about the marriage system and so on. But I would like to ask you one question. What about the adopted child or adopted children? Whether it is, when people get married, with one of the Dutch men, and they decided to adopt a child, both of them, they agree to adopt. What about these adoption children? Because for the DNA it will not work. Yeah, that's only actually my question. Maybe one more. What about if this is for the father, yeah, for the man. What about if it is like vice versa? Yeah. What about if the mother was Dutch and the father is Indonesian, and the one who neglected the child is the mother, the Dutch? Is it also like this law could reach the mother if she happens to neglect the child? And then the last, I would have to say sorry to all of you. Thank you very much for your all good information for our student. I have at 6 o'clock, I have to to exam. There are a thesis examination and I have to be there on time. Okay, thank you very much.
Yang kedua itu, tapi sebelum itu tentang anak tadi saya lupa mengindonesiakan yang disampaikan oleh Mr. Kroon. Jadi kalau ada anak, meskipun misalkan dan terjadi perceraian itu karena si istri cheating dan sebagainya, kewajiban masing-masing, terutama ayah yang warga negara Belanda terhadap anak itu tidak hilang. Ya, jadi begitu kira-kira. Silahkan, namanya siapa, Mbak?
Terima kasih, Pak. Saya mau bertanya yang tadi PPT yang ya. Perkenalkan, nama saya Alfiana Krisnandarasari dari Fakultas Hukum dan Komunikasi. Saya mau bertanya yang di PPT tadi Pak Richard menyebutkan bahwa warga yang tidak mempunyai penghasilan atau mempunyai penghasilan kecil akan mendapatkan tunjangan. Bagaimana owner bisa tahu bahwa warga tidak mempunyai penghasilan atau mempunyai penghasilan kecil itu dan tunjangan tersebut akan berlaku hingga berapa lama ya Pak ya? Terima kasih.
My name is Thomas Surya. I'm a student of law here. I'm also a Catholic priest. Now I'm having my internship semester in a notary. So my question is for Mr. Kroon. Mr. Kroon, in the case of divorce, I'm interested about divorce. Usually I meet people legal as man and wife. I pronounce you as husband and wife. But now I would like to talk about divorce. One of the regulation or law here is to make the prenuptial agreement. That's what you said here. About the prenuptial agreement, perjanjian kawin, perjanjian pranikah. What is the effect of prenuptial agreement before the notary in the case of divorce? If a couple want to get divorce, and then what is the effect? Is there is anything happen? If there is anything to do with the prenuptial agreement that they made before the marriage? That's only my question, Mr. Kroon. Thank you. Prenuptial agreement or the premarital agreement.
Mr. Groen, you may answer these questions. From the first questions is, I think you already understand. You already understand it because it's pronounced in English. The second question is, it's for you. Second question is from Sari is for you, and the third question is from Father Suryo about premarital agreement that for the people who is going to get divorced. Please, Mr. Groen.
Okay, yeah, thank you. To start with the first questions concerning the adoption and concerning the abandonment. When you want to adopt and this child is living in Indonesia, that at this point is not possible according to Dutch law. Because it's considered as an inter-country, an international adoption, and international adoption has been suspended by the government because after some investigations, they found out that all kinds of things were wrong with this kind of adoptions. And it concerned adoptions from certain African countries and South American countries. So this is why the government decided to suspend international adoptions. And now they are trying to work out another scheme with more safety and regulations for the children. But when the child lives in this country, documented or undocumented, with, for instance, an Indonesian mother, and this Indonesian mother with the child gets a relationship with a Dutch husband or a Dutch partner, then there can be an adoption. And this is called a step-parent adoption. And then the partners have to live together. They have to have lived together for at least 3 years, and they have to take care of the child for at least 1 year. And then an adoption, to say in short, then an adoption will be allowed. And if the Dutch person, the step-parent who adopts, has Dutch citizenship, the child will automatically also get Dutch citizenship. In case of abandonment, this was the second question. In case of abandonment, there is a Dutch mother and an Indonesian father, and the Dutch mother abandons the child. Then it depends where the child lives on the question of which law applies. If the child, even if it's a Dutch child, lives in Indonesia, then Indonesian law will apply on this Dutch child. But if the child lives in this country and the mother abandoned the child in this country, then Dutch law will apply. And then normally the father has equal rights as the mother concerning the child. So the father can say, I want that the child is going to live with me, and I want to take care of the upbringing of the child. Of course, it will be a problem when the father lives in Indonesia. What the court normally does, the father can call me. I can submit a request to the court that the residency of the child should be determined with the father in Indonesia, and then the court will appoint the child protective services to do an investigation concerning this. Hello, Anton. You want to interrupt?
There was a little addition to it. If the father is the person, the Indonesian father is the person who is taking providing the daily care to the Dutch child, then from that fact, the father derives a right to come to the Netherlands and live in the Netherlands with the Dutch child because of the child's nationality. It is an EU citizen, and the child has the right to grow up in the European Union, in this case in the Netherlands, and it is required for the child that daily care is provided by the normal parent who provides the daily care. So that's the immigration consequence of it, of having a Dutch child. You can raise your Dutch child in the Netherlands. And that might be an unforeseen, but nonetheless interesting end to this particular part of the question of the teacher. Mevrouw Marcella.
This is why Mr. Anton Kleiweg and me work together. As you can see, immigration law is a very specialized terrain of law, which I do not deal with. So I think this answers the question of Marcella. Then the other question concerning the prenuptial agreement, it doesn't influence, of course, the right to divorce in this country. And the court will respect the prenuptial agreement. And a prenuptial agreement is drawn up by a notary public, and this can be executed by the court. So the court will always follow, as prescribed by the law, will always follow the arrangements made in a prenuptial agreement. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Kroon and Mr. Kleiweg. Now is for Richard. There's one question for you about how to determine the poor condition of a wife or an Indonesian, so they cannot they need financial support or to use the legal aids. Yeah, how to know that whether she's poor or not?
To answer that question, there is in the Netherlands some threshold that you have. If you have an income above a certain sum, then you are not allowed to receive support. But most people, especially in Indonesia, will have an income below that threshold. So to be sure, they can just put the claim to a dealer. Contact Mr. Kleiweg, and they will look at it if they are entitled to support from the government. So there will be no problem at all if you consider the Indonesian wages compared to the limits you have in the Netherlands.
Yeah, thank you. Terima kasih. Is there any questions? Yeah, satu. Another 3 questions, satu, and then who else? Satu saja. Okay, Benny, two questions. Okay, silahkan. Namanya siapa, Mas?
Tas myself of Stellen. Perkenalkan, nama saya Lucius van Reinhardt. Izinkan saya bertanya. Izinkan saya bercerita sebentar sedikit. Teman nenek saya menikah sama orang Belanda. Kalau tidak salah, beliau asalnya dari Rotterdam. Itu beliau menikah waktu itu masih masa Hindia Belanda. sebelum pernikahan beliau ada perjanjian pernikahan dengan teman nenek saya, karena teman nenek saya adalah istri kedua dari istri pertamanya di Belanda. Sebelum meninggal, beliau yang di Belanda sebelum mau pulang ke Belanda sudah memberikan warisan yang ada di Belanda untuk keturunan beliau.
Teman neneknya itu laki atau perempuan?
Laki.
Laki menikah dengan perempuan Belanda.
Jadi si beliau yang di Belanda itu cowok, itu nikah dengan teman nenek saya. Jadi istri yang kedua.
Oh, oke, ya. Itu.
Ya.
Ya. Oke.
Kemudian setelah
Tinggal di Belanda.
enggak, yang teman nenek saya tinggal di Indonesia. Tapi waktu yang tuan, kalau enggak salah nama beliau Robert van Jongen itu sakit dan beliau harus pulang ke Belanda. Sebelum pulang, beliau tetap mewariskan surat warisan agar hak warisan harta untuk si teman nenek saya itu bisa diberikan. Tapi setelah mendengar kabar kalau beliau meninggal, tidak ada kabar lagi soal pembagian harta warisan untuk beliau dan keturunannya itu.
Keturunan di Indonesia.
Iya. Setelah 50, 60, 70 tahun kemudian, keluarga Tuan Robert ini datang ke Indonesia, ingin bertemu dengan beliau. Cuma karena beliau, si nenek ini sudah meninggal, dan keturunannya hanya bisa menggunakan bahasa Belanda Inggris. Tapi ya sudah agak lupa, jadi mungkin pernah itu waktu itu dipanggilkan translator. Dari keluarga ini hanya ingin membagi warisan, cuma hanya sebagian kecil. Tapi keluarga yang dari nenek ini tidak terima karena perjanjian itu pembagian warisan adalah setengah dari harta kekayaan. Kalau tidak salah ada sekitar 1,5 juta gulden, kalau tidak salah. Ya, itu saja, Pak.
Oke, jadi pertanyaannya apa?
Jadi apakah walaupun itu perjanjian hukum pernikahan masa itu, apakah kalau sekarang diurus secara undang-undang pemerintahan Belanda yang sekarang, apakah bisa untuk membagi hak warisan itu?
I think I would like to translate it into English first. So, siapa namanya, Mas?
Liukius.
There's a question from our student Liukius. She asked a question. He has a grandmother who lives around 70 years ago during the Dutch Indie colonial system. And then she met a Dutch man, his name was Robert, and they got married. And actually, the friend of her grandmother was the second wife of Robert. So Robert has the first wife who lived at the time in the Netherlands, and so, yeah, in the time, and the next time Robert became ill, and he moved back to the Netherlands. But before he moved to the Netherlands, he wrote what is surat warisan? Testimony about inheritance. What? Yeah, testimony about inheritance. So according to him, in the testimony, the right of his children who lives in Indonesia is clear. But when he returned to the Netherlands, his Dutch children try to yeah, I mean they don't want to share the his money and to his Indonesian children. So yeah, it was a long time ago, and then 50 or 70 years ago, the Dutch children of Robert came to Indonesia and talked to their Robert Indonesian children about the inheritance. Yeah, according to my students, they don't want to share like what has been written in the testimony. So what should be done? That's the question. So before you answer the question, I think there's another question from Benny.
Hi, okay, I'm Benny. Thank you very much, Kuliah and Mr. Grun, about your explanation and also Richard. My question is about in the other way around, because you mentioned about the spouse doesn't really matter whether it's female or male, right? What happens if the spouse is in the same sex? Will it be also applicable this new law, or just protected to the male and female instead of any same sex or transgender or those kind of things? Because it's quite new phenomenon right now. Thank you very much.
I can answer these two questions. This is who go first. Mr. Kuliah, I think, yeah.
Okay, I think I can, from migration perspective, I can answer the question of Mr. Benny quite short. Same-sex marriage, gender neutral, so no sex marriage or relationship, or gay or not gay, or male, female, man, is not so relevant. Of course, if there are babies being produced, it suggests two sexes, but I can imagine that officially a child has two mothers or two fathers. Well, then officially there are two parents for the child, and if that happens to be the same sex, from migration point of view, that is not relevant. Maybe from family law it is different, but I have no sufficient knowledge for that. So for that, I really need Mr. Groen.
Yes. Thank you. To start with transgenders and same-sex marriages, there is full equality in this country. So everything I said also applies to transgenders, gays, lesbians, etc., etc. This also means, to give an example, that when the example I used, the Indonesian woman has a baby, the baby can be acknowledged by a Dutch woman and not a man. The law struck really the terms of mother and father. When you look at the first book of the civil code in this country, you see mostly the words parenthood. And parenthood can be two men, two women, or a man and a woman. So there is full equality concerning this. The first question concerns inheritance. It's a very specific question. I cannot go into really specific cases. And the second part, inheritance law, is not my field of expertise. Of course, they can contact DILA, and then we will refer you to an inheritance lawyer. Lawyers in this country must be specialized. It's like you go to a doctor and he looks at your eyes and he say, "Well, I will look at your feet too." Then you don't have any confidence in this doctor, I think. And the same goes for lawyers. Lawyers need to be specialized, and inheritance law is really a different expertise. So we will have to refer you concerning this.
Second question, actually the first question from my students about the women, a woman who married to a Dutch man a long time ago during the Dutch Indie, and about her inheritance. So please, who's going to answer? Oh, already. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't pay attention. Okay, so ya itu tadi jawabannya, tidak bisa dengan hukum yang baru. Ada pertanyaan lagi? Silakan, ada? Ya, satu, ada lagi? Dua orang aja. Ya, tinggal satu orang. Silahkan, namanya siapa, Mbak?
Perkenalkan, nama saya Sally. Saya ingin bertanya, apakah di Belanda terdapat UU marital rape yang juga melindungi hak wanita, karena di Indonesia sendiri itu masih dianggap ada dan tiada. Anggapan jika sudah ada hubungan atau menikah itu persetujuan atau konsen dalam seks itu tidak dihiraukan. Nah, apakah di Belanda juga sama seperti itu, dan bagaimana jika ini terjadi? Gitu. Marital rape.
Yeah, there's a question about whether the Dutch new marital law protect women, especially when they become a victim of domestic violence. Because in Indonesia, it according to her, it's not certain. Yeah. Okay, that's the question.
Well, the answer is simple. If she reports it to the police, then he can accuse the husband to the police. In the Netherlands, it's even so that the man and the woman have equal rights, even within the marriage. So if there's a case of domestic violence, the woman can always call the police and accuse him for domestic violence, and they will be handling the case. There will be no difference between men and women.
Yeah, Mr. Kleiber? Yeah, please.
I cannot follow Indonesian language properly, but I understood also that the question was not only domestic violence, but marital rape. And rape.
Yeah, marital rape.
Rape is rape in the Netherlands, whether you're married or not. So then, first thing you do is go to the police, file a complaint, and that's it. Rape is not allowed within the marriage, and the woman does not have any legal obligation of pleasing her husband.
Yeah.
Sorry for being a bit brutish, but my English is not so great.
That's very sober of you. So, ya begitu jawabannya. So, it's going to be the last question, I think. If there are any questions. Ada? Masih ada? Sebelah sana? Okay, so yeah, there is no more questions. So I would like to close this meetings, this seminar, and I would like to say, okay, so there is an additional remarks from Richard to
the inheritance matter you mentioned. Mr. Groen explained that inheritance legislation is especially very specialized, but you can always ask your question through dila.contact, and Mr. Groen or Mr. Kluiweg will transfer to a specialized lawyer to help you out. Because it's very complicated, especially while it is 70 years ago. But it can be, you can ask it through the dila.contact form.
Terima kasih, Richard. So, yeah, so I would like to close this session. Is there any information from the faculty? Oh, yeah, there's a small token for thank you to everybody or to Richard? Just, okay, just come up here. Well, thank you, Richard. Thank you, Mr. Kroon, and thank you, Mr. Kluiweg, for this valuable information to us. And I think we would like to share this information about new Dutch marriage law to other Indonesians. So see you next time, I think. Terima kasih.
Thank you. Thank you. Terima kasih.
Thank you very much, and I hope to meet again. Bye.
Bye-bye.